worrying me a little bit here on this Sunday. But hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Missing Lynx post-game podcast, live stream, whatever it is. I'm Andrew Dukowitz, your host, beat reporter for ZoneCoverage, covering the Lynx, Wolves, and Gophers for the site. And today we got Jenna Ortiz, who is in the lovely city of Minneapolis, I'm assuming, for AZ Central to break down some Mercury film here. And she is such a trooper because she got literally in 2 hours notice of me begging to come on a podcast. Luckily, she was the first person I messaged, and she was the first person that messaged back. So Jenna, how are you? How are you enjoying the city so far?
Good. The city's awesome. I love the weather out here right now. It's a perfect time. I love being out here.
Yeah, I can imagine it's still pretty warm down in Arizona right now.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the game a little bit. I'd love to get your thoughts, Jenna, just because this game seemed like it was going a completely different direction the first 20 minutes of the game. 42 points in the paint for the Mercury. Their only points out of the paint were 2 free throws and a 3-pointer. And it seemed like they were kind of rolling on all cylinders. What did you feel like was going pretty well for them in the first half?
I just thought they were doing such a great job, of course, going in the paint, attacking. And then they were also doing such a great job congesting the paint for Minnesota. That's why I like the first, I would say 4 attempts were on from the 3 because they were just so congested up the middle. And then in the second quarter, I saw that they held Collier scoreless, which is already a big deal. So they were really clicking defensively, making Minnesota really think twice. Alyssa Thomas is just incredible at what she does. She's just so good at her game, and she just knows her game and always sticks to it. She doesn't stray away from that. So when she was just firing on all cylinders, just going up the paint, just really attacking, they just didn't have an answer for a bit.
Yeah, it was interesting because the Mercury were really doing exactly the opposite of what the Lynx try to force teams to do. The Lynx try and force teams to not have straight line drives at the basket, and AT was just getting there at will. And then you had Sabali and Ka just kind of going at will to the rim as well. It really looked like the Mercury were gonna maybe pull off an upset here. And then, for Lynx fans and people who have paid attention to this team so far this season, they kind of do this thing where they just don't look prepared for a basketball game. Sorry, Cheryl, if you're listening. And then they just turn it on. It's literally like a light switch goes off, and they came out of halftime and it just was a completely different defensive effort. What I kind of noticed, especially, was just Courtney William was playing out of her minds coming into that third quarter, especially just on those pick and rolls or pick and fades with Alyssa Thomas. It's weird to say that like the point guard was making the biggest impact when Alyssa Thomas has the ball, but what did you kind of see was the biggest adjustment that the Lynx made kind of coming into that third quarter?
I think they were really just getting on them to stop them from going to the paint. They were really using their bigs. You mentioned when Masha came in, it was just a complete change. She only came in for 8 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And she just used her size and really went for the ball. She was very active. Everyone was just so active. I think that was the difference between them and New York, because when they go up against New York had a lot of bigs, but they weren't as active going on them, and they were kind of a bit slower, so Thomas was able to get over them. Now she's going against bigs that are very active. They're just moving a lot, and it's just a little bit harder to get through that when people are really outworking them with that.
Well, and there was one point in the fourth quarter, I looked down and AC has had 2 shots, and I want to say the first 14 minutes of the second half. It's really rare to see her off her game. We got a pretty up close look at her in Connecticut last year when we faced them in the semis, but it was really weird to see AT kind of struggling to just get to her spots. I think you're spot on. Masha was such a huge momentum changer, and it's it's a credit to Cheryl that she can bench the defensive player of the year for
Yeah.
a player that they brought in midway through the season. But I mean, I guess I'll ask you, what do you feel like maybe some adjustments Nate could make on the other side to kind of combat that? Because it
Yeah.
really seemed like they were just stuck in the mud.
We've talked with him about changing up the 8-player rotation, or at least expanding a little bit more. And he's still, I mean, stuck to doing the 8-player rotation. Even before the game, he was asked if any of the bench players would make an appearance because they're going off 48 hours of rest, like 48 hours of just rest, and they barely have had any time to really catch their breath since game 3. But he said no, and I mean, he stuck to his word. He
Yep.
stuck to his word in the game, and so he's just still sticking with what he has until I don't know what point they'll come out or not. If he'll put in Kalani Brown, who's 6'7", and is just able to really get those loose balls and all that. But I mean, I don't know when that could happen, if it will happen at all, because I mean, those players haven't played much over the last few games, and so he might be, of course, worried about conditioning and all that, even though, I mean, sometimes you might have to make those key adjustments, and then it could totally change the game.
Yeah, it's weird because I'll be the first to admit, the first series with Golden State, I was very blessed because I've watched an absurd amount of Golden State this year. I haven't watched a lot of Phoenix, and I kind of dug into just like the advanced stats, watched a couple games to try and get like a hang of it. And it seems like they are so dependent on AT being everything on offense. And then they really concede a lot on offense too. Like they don't offensive rebound very well. They don't really even try a lot of times. So when I'm looking at like what this team could change, it's almost like it would have to be almost an identity shift. Do you kind of agree with that, or?
Yeah, for sure. I think they've gone through several phases throughout the years, but I mean, or throughout this year because of injuries and all that. So for a while, they were really good at shooting threes. They were one of the best three-point shooting teams, and they were really going from there. But then I think once they got the big three all together, Satu Sabali, Kalia Copper, and then of course AT. Once they got them together, they kind of relied on them, and then they were like, we're just going to go through AT's game, which is just going downhill, attacking, going up in the paint. And they've kind of haven't really done as much from the three. I mean, even though Copper and Sabali are really good three-point shooters, and then when they put on DeWanna Bonner and Sammy Whitcomb, they're both really great at the three as well, but they weren't taking as much threes as usual. And even in this game, they were taking a lot, but they just kept missing. None of the open looks were hitting. And so I think they've definitely shifted a few times this year to like suit whatever's working best. And so right now, maybe they'll have to just completely change a little bit, or maybe try to just have AT be the setup person to Bonner or Copper or Sabali and have them really try to go from the three.
It is interesting. Like they have 3-point shooters. It's not like they don't have players that can shoot threes. But like if they were to make the adjustment where like Sammy is playing 28 minutes and just kind of sniping from three, or doing more pick and fades to kind of get open, or Bonner's kind of sitting in the above the break or in the corner. I mean, they have to guard people on defense, and it seemed like the Lynx, anytime Bonner was on the floor, it was trying to run something through BC to get Bonner on the ball. They tried to get her switched on to T a couple times, which I thought was kind of funny, but hey, if T wants that matchup, I'm not going to question it. And it was kind of the same with Sammy. When Courtney really started getting it going, it seemed like Whitcomb was a lot of times that matchup, which is that kind of the concern with them, is that the defensive drop off would be so much that the offense isn't worth it. Or, I mean, if you have a crystal ball, what would you say is kind of keeping them from getting more time?
I mean, they've always tried to create defense or create offense off their defense. I wasn't really seeing that a lot in this game. There weren't a lot of fast breaks. There weren't a lot of points off turnovers, or as much as usual. And kind of just wasn't exactly what they were supposed to be doing. I mean, they weren't going for it and really trying to get a bunch of tip balls as well. I mean, Sammy was really good at that. Satu Sabali is really good at that as well. They're both really good at getting those tips, and they weren't really going for it as much. But, I mean, Tibbetts told us that there wasn't fatigue in this game, but, I mean, maybe he's just, I don't know. I mean, that could have been a factor.
The Lynx were running. I mean, this is not a Lynx team that gets out in transition a lot, and they were running tonight. I mean, that might have been when the advanced stats come out tomorrow. I'll be interested to see what their pace was, because this was like very uncharacteristic for this team. So I almost wonder if that was part of their game plan coming in, was let's see how fresh their legs are and we'll just run them off the floor. And I mean, if that was, I mean, shooting 3 of 23 from 3-point range, that's sometimes a legs issue. I mean, the one thing I will say is the first quarter, the Mercury did seem, first and second quarter, they seemed to really, you know, they were forcing the Lynx into a lot of turnovers. They were forcing Courtney into really like uncomfortable actions. Lan couldn't hit a shot to kind of save her life tonight.
Yeah.
They were making it difficult, but it just kind of seemed like the third and fourth quarter, whatever they were doing, almost their entire game plan just stopped working, which it's hard to like be a writer for the Lynx and not to sound like a homer, because they're literally like the best at the league in everything statistically. But like, that's what the Lynx have been doing in the third quarters that have led them to be the best third quarter team in the league, is they just, whatever worked for you the first half of the game, they just know how to pull the rug on and kind of make it not effective anymore. I do want to look ahead to game 2 though, but first I'm going to throw us over to a break. We should probably catch up on chat a little bit here too, but first, ads. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Lynx podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. Andrew in the chat here says great finish, but we got to play well all 4 quarters going forward. I feel like at this point that's just the Lynx. They do what they do. He's also torn on who they'd rather face in the finals. I'm not ready to look that far ahead yet. I think the Mercury will make. If I had to predict how the series goes, I think the Lynx probably win game 2, and then the Mercury win by like 35 in game 3, and then the Lynx might take game 4. But they are going to have a moment in this series where all of the Lynx fans crash and think that this whole thing is going to go down the drain. Jude, we need to let both series settle in. Completely agree. Indiana stealing game 1 tonight was wild, though, especially on Asia's MVP like day. It wasn't in my it wasn't in my notebook that they were going to win tonight. Few comments from Jude, Rodney about Masha. I mean, people that have listened to the pod all season or have watched my content, this team loves Masha. Like, it can't be spoken how much diving for loose balls and practice means to like a Cheryl Reeve team, and that's what she does. BC's defense, I agree, she was awesome today. And then Jude adds in, Lynx need to hit threes early. Yeah, it would have been. I feel like it would have been a different vibe if Lan hit 2 out of those first 4. But you know, this has been a weird team all year. Andrew, how much do you think we win by in game 2? I think game 2 will be pretty close. I feel like the Mercury, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, Jenna, but I feel like the Mercury have a lot of pride. I don't think they're going to get like punked in any game this series where it's a 25-point Lynx win. I feel like they have enough grit to where they're going to make every game close. And then, like I say, Minnesota might lose a game by 30, but that's who they are. Jenna, what do you think? Do you think game 2 is going to be kind of another close, hard-fought game?
I think so too. I think they do a really good job of flipping the switch and really having like a short-term memory from these kind of things. And like what we saw in game 1 against the Liberty, I keep going back to that game, but it wasn't their best basketball. It was somewhat similar to this game, but it was still like pretty severe, and Satu Sabali didn't have her best game as well. Like they just weren't getting enough from people. And so then the next game, they completely dominated New York to the point where their reserves came in the fourth quarter. And so I don't think they're going to dominate in game 2, but I do think they're going to make it a close game. I don't think they're going to do the same things that they did in this game. I think they're going to really make some adjustments, but also use that extra practice, extra rest, and really have a better showing.
Yeah, again, it's just having covered the Lynx all season, it's just uncanny how they do this. And it's so consistent where it looks so bad in a half, and then it's that light switch that goes off. And like when I'm looking at Phoenix, I could see them starting off game 2 very strong again. I could see Nate making some adjustments. And, you know, I mean, one thing I was kind of shocked by today, and I didn't notice it until after the game, but Ka shot 23 shots tonight. I mean, I don't know if that's a recipe to winning games. I mean, she's a gifted scorer, but I'll say it this way: between their big 3, they shot 51 out of their 75 shots. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the recipe to break a Lynx defense that's really good at just kind of adjusting. But I do think there will be changes. Maybe it is trying to get different players more involved, that the Lynx will probably fall behind again in the first quarter, and then it'll be the same old story. But, you know, again, I kind of asked you it earlier, but if there were adjustments for Phoenix to make, you know, whether it's offensively or defensively, that would at least give them a chance to steal one in Minnesota, what do you feel like those would be?
You know, this wasn't the best, I think, showing for Monica Koa-Makani. She got a little bit banged up from, I think, Alana Smith. Was it during the second or third quarter? So she got a little yeah. So she got
kind of like a non-contact thing.
Yeah, it was really weird because she was kind of limping a little bit after, but yeah, so that happened. But usually when they get her going, I mean, she's been doing pretty well in the playoffs defensively, and then also offensively as well. I mean, she did such a great job against Sabrina Ionescu in the first round. So I think just getting her healthy and going maybe would help a lot on the defense. And then I'm a little shocked that there wasn't a whole lot of stuff with Natasha Mack. But, I mean, they were clogging up the paint. But she was doing pretty well right at the beginning and getting in there. And, I mean, when she was against New York, she was still undersized against them, and she was still fighting her way in there. So I guess I'm not sure why there wasn't as much going through her as well.
Yeah, it is interesting with Mac, because I feel like she's been kind of one of those players that has swung games for them just by being that fourth scorer to their big 3. She only played 12 minutes. Is there like an injury thing or anything like that you know of, or was that just one of those weird things?
I think it was one of those weird things because I didn't see her go down at all during the game.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I remember in game 1, she was doing really well against New York, and then she got a little bit banged up. She came back, and then they took her out for the rest of the game, and we asked Nate, why did she leave? Is she injured or anything? And all he said was they just wanted a bigger lineup, or they just wanted to downsize their lineup, which I don't know. I mean, I think she could be their X factor at times. Monica Koa-Makani can also be their X factor. Sammy Whitcomb is another one that could also be the X factor, and she was helping them a lot in this game.
I thought she brought them something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially, I mean, I feel like Cheryl has never talked more about slip screens and stuff more than she has today. But like when AT was getting Sammy on those guard screens, it was working out pretty well. I feel like, it felt like Sammy shot more than just 3-3-pointers, but maybe that's the answer of just trying to stretch the floor a little. Ben in the chat, can we talk about what a great game BC had? She was awesome. It was your normal BC game where she goes 0 for 2 in the first half. And then all of a sudden she just hits 2 of the biggest shots in the game. Her defense is great. 8 rebounds is kind of wild for BC. Like that might be a season high for her. But I mean, you talk about Dejanay Carrington going down. That's your answer to that, is just BC is playing at the level that she's been able to play at the last 2 years. Elise asks here in the chat too, does anyone know why the tech on AT when she fouled Heidemann didn't lead to AT's basketball afterwards getting revoked? I don't know. Jenna, I'll let you handle this one. Do you know why the basket didn't get revoked?
Why it didn't get revoked? I feel like AT said something about let me go look through my.
I remember she said something about like they told me they missed the call.
Yeah, she said they told her they missed the foul, I think, and hold on. I have it yeah, they missed the foul, and she said she just said they missed the foul call on her.
I can't get fined. I don't work for a team. I think the refs just kind of make things up as they go sometimes. I'm going to be honest. T got like clocked in the chin. Like, let's all acknowledge that looked like it hurt a lot. However, they can't just review a play like that. The basket had already been through the bucket. Like, Minnesota called a timeout to go assist T. You can't just like retroactively go review the play before when there wasn't a call on it. So like,
yeah,
I was almost more outraged for Phoenix because I'm like, what is this? This is blasphemy. The rules, if we have rules and we're not going to follow them, why even matter? But it does seem like they missed the call. So they gave AT the points, but then kind of felt bad that T got like leveled in the face. So they gave Minnesota a tech, which in that case, I think Phoenix should have been able to pick the foul shooter too, if it was like an off-ball tech.
Yeah.
Or a retroactive tech, which then you're not picking K-Mac to shoot that. I don't know. It was just all a mess, but that's the WNBA officiating. Anything you want to add to that, Jenna, or do you not want to touch it?
Yeah, I wasn't completely sure what was going on there. And I mean, I don't think they did either. I think they did the play, they saw she was down, they went, and then all of a sudden they hear, oh, it's getting reviewed, and they're like, what?
Yeah. It was so weird. Like, why? I can say I've seen like off ball, like elbows and stuff, especially like in the NBA, because they put such a priority on like player safety. Not that the W doesn't, but like W is just more physical. I've never seen somebody retroactively assess a tech after a made basket. That is, yeah, I would have been outraged if I was Nate Tibbetts. I'm going to throw us over to one more ad read here. If anyone else has any more questions in the chat for me or Jenna, we'd be happy to answer them. If not, we'll do a little preview for game 2, maybe the rest of the season series. But first, Nate Pence. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Before we move on to that, Elsie, 100% refs making stuff up. I'm going to be honest. Courtney, that's a transition take foul after Satu, I think, kicked the ball and then Courtney just grabbed her in transition. Like, that should have been points and the ball. So that was the first thing that annoyed me today. And then even though T got hit in the face, retroactively going back there and reviewing that also irritated me today. I feel like WNBA officiating, hopefully that's a CBA issue that they figure out. Jenna, I do want to kind of close asking you though, been covering the Mercury all season. Do you feel like there is a realistic chance that they can kind of come in and steal game 2, win the series? Or do you feel like the Lynx kind of showed enough today where it might not be in the Mercury's future to keep going on?
I think the Lynx have so much going for them to the point where, I mean, it's kind of hard when you have such a great coach in Cheryl who's just making the right adjustments, finding the right people to put in the right spaces, and then they're able to have collaborative meetings at halftime to really figure out what they want to do and how to stop them when things aren't working. I mean, it's really hard to go on that and go against that. I mean, the Mercury are very, very talented. This is the best Mercury team I've ever covered. And I just think they just finally have people who are able to be stars, but also rebound and really be active. But I think they'll likely, as you said, I think they'll likely drop game 2, but then win game 3 because they'll be at home. They'll be back. And I think they'll do a lot better out there.
I would assume so. Target Center also like sneaky sucks to play in. I mean, it's loud the entire game. Lynx fans are insane. They have like fun facts of players, family members behind the bench. I mean, they are Lynx fans. You guys are ridiculous. In all the best ways, I will say. Elsa's getting flashbacks from last year's finals. Yeah, I feel like we don't talk about that until they win the finals this year. Then we can have some flashbacks. I started a firebed in the chat on officiating, so I think I'm going to stop talking about officiating before I like have an aneurysm. But I would agree with you. I think there is a path where the Mercury can make this difficult. I do think it's going to be hard, and it's going to be dependent on them playing really as close to perfect as possible, just because the Lynx defense is so ridiculous. And then even if you get them on an off night defensively, like tonight was an off night for them offensively, and they still put up 82 points. It's just such a hard team to play. I'd love to get your thoughts though on, not saying that the series is over, but this is kind of another weird offseason for the Mercury where most of their players are free agents. And I think like a lot of teams in the league, a lot of movement could happen. Do you have any sense of like what Mercury team is going to be coming back next year, or what players are kind of thinking or hinting about?
It's definitely hard to tell. All I know for next season that's like for sure is Kalani Brown is one of the few players in the W that's a veteran and is signed for 2 years. So she's signed for next year. Other than that, I'm sure they're going to likely do everything they can to keep Kalia Copper, Alyssa Thomas, of course, and then even Satu Sabali. I'm sure they're going to try to keep that big 3. They also are going to have to worry about the expansion draft with Toronto and Portland. I mean, who knows?
It's another one of those things where it's like a luxury to cover the Lynx, because like I think if you're looking at this team, Fee, Lan, and K-Mac are probably all back. Just I mean, for Lynx fans, don't be surprised if Lan is the second highest paid player on the team next year. Fee is I would kind of cement her in. And K-Mac, I think, realizes that her jersey could be retired if she has a good another 2 or 3 seasons here. And what I hear from a lot of other teams is that it's just kind of up in the air of how they're going to get people back. Andrew, KJ asked if I sit on visiting team press conferences. During the regular season, I don't. Sometimes I'll watch them back on YouTube, but not everyone puts their YouTubes. Connecticut. Any key takeaways that the Mercury are going to pay attention to next game? Not really. Nate, I learned this from Nate last year. He doesn't really say a lot in his post-game press conferences. He's very cryptic and whimsical. So it was a lot of, we're going to look at the tape. I did ask him kind of specifically about, what changed in guarding AT, and he mentioned that the ball pressure went way up. So what's so hard for me to, and I'm sorry for bringing this point up again for the fifth time, but what's so hard for me is the Mercury's offense goes so much through AT. She is the central hub of everything they do. So if they are not getting those screens to get her going downhill, or they're not getting people open off of kind of off ball action, we saw it tonight. Their offense kind of sputters. So I really don't know what the adjustment is there, other than just getting more shooters on the floor and trying to take advantage of the Lynx helping on those Thomas ball handling screens. But the shooters that they have aren't the best at playing defense a lot of times, which plays into the Lynx hands. So he has a tough job. Again, I'll throw it over to you, Jenna, if you have anything to add, but it's going to be a tough couple days of scheming for Nate, I would assume.
Oh yeah. Going up against what Minnesota has, I'm sure they're doing all the video they can now of the bench after she put Masha in, and it really just messed up the game. They're going to try to figure out those people. It's just hard. When you're going against the league's top team, you're going against some of the top players, it's hard to really make those adjustments to stop them. At times they were stopping Fee and all that, but then when you're stopping and putting all your attention on her, that just allows for people like Kayla McBride and Courtney Williams to really have big games.
I've been saying it all season. It's just kind of not fair, which again, it sounds like a homer thing to say, but they're the best at almost every assist to turnover ratio, offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, assist percentage. They were second. Effective field goal, they were the best in the league. They are the second best in opponent field goal percentage. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the league, while being the second best at guarding the 3-point. It's just, you take away one thing and it just avalanches. The last thing I will add before I give you a chance to sign off with us here, Jenna, is for any of the Lynx fans in here, Cheryl credited Courtney Williams for the halftime adjustments today. So I think we all owe Courtney Williams a collective thank you for fixing the defense, evidently. But that's the fun part about this team is, when you have Wade, Natisha Heidemann, Cheryl Reeve, and Courtney in a halftime locker room, there's usually some good ideas that come out of it. Jenna, I'd love to give you the chance, though. Anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? Anything you're working on right now?
Yeah, so I work at the Arizona Republic, or AZCentral.com. I've been covering the Mercury throughout the entire season. I've also been covering, of course, the WNBA and all that. So be sure to just check out any of the Mercury coverage or WNBA coverage, and just hopefully you can just get more eyeballs on everything.
Especially the Mercury, because you guys have a pretty historic level of success down there. So I would assume, even with a lot of questions this offseason, you guys will probably be all right moving forward. Thanks for coming on, though. Thanks again for coming on very short notice. And I hope you enjoy your time in Minneapolis. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you. See you there.